Okay, let's get started. Good afternoon, I'm Tiffany Macias Silva. I'm one of the UCEAP advisors here at the UC Davis Global Learning Hub. I'm joined today by Ashley Overnights. She's a program coordinator at the UC Davis Global Learning Hub as well. Thank you for joining us today to learn about the UCEAP summer physics programs. First of all, what is UCEAP? UCEAP stands for University of California Education Abroad Program. Since 1962, UCEAP has been helping University of California students like you learn, explore, and make an impact at UC and around the globe. Students from 9 of the UC campuses participate in these programs. So let's talk about physics. Yes, it is true you can earn a full year's worth of physics in one 8-week summer program. This year, UCEAP is offering 7 physics program locations for summer 2021. University of Sussex, University College Dublin, University College Cork, University of Glasgow, Carlos III University Madrid, University of Nicosia, and University of Sydney. Please note that some programs do have different names. Some are called Summer Physics, some are called Science and Engineering, and others simply Summer In with a school name. All programs are taught in English and have an eligibility requirement of a 2.50 GPA with the exception of Glasgow, which has a 2.7 GPA requirement. To participate, students must have finished 2 sequential courses of single variable calculus with a passing grade of C- or better. These classes are Math 16, 17, or 21 A and B here at UC Davis. Some things to know going in. These programs are very intensive. You should be prepared to work on physics, whether in class, labs, or on your own with homework, 6 to 8 hours per day on weekdays. The UC Davis Physics Department has pre-approved all Physics for Life Science tracks on these programs to be equivalent to UC Davis Physics 7 A, B, and C. And the University of Glasgow has an additional track for Physics for Engineers, and that track has been approved for Physics 9 A, B, and C. So Glasgow offers both 7 and 9. You will earn UC units on the program. This means that grades and units will appear on your UC Davis transcripts. Course numbers will appear as UCEAP course numbers and not the Davis equivalent course number. Because of this, this means that you cannot retake courses on campus for passing grade if you fail. And finally, if you need these courses to count as a degree requirement, or you'll need to work with your major advisor or dean's office depending on where that requirement lies. If you're a senior, a few things that you need to consider are senior residence and filing to graduate. The UC Davis senior residence requirement states that 35 of your final 45 units be completed in residence. Essentially, this means on campus. With UCEAP, this works a little bit differently. Because you're earning UC units, you can either have 35 of your final 45 prior to departure, if UCEAP is your last term prior to graduation, or you'll count 35 of your final 90, including UC units, with 1/4 of 12 units completed on campus after your UCEAP program. You must be a UC student to participate in a UCEAP program, which means you cannot file to graduate until after the completion of your program. The Global Learning Hub works with the registrar's office to place you in UCEAP units on campus for the term you are abroad. For this reason, if UCEAP is your last term, you cannot file to graduate until the following term. This is because it takes up to 90 days for grades to post to your UC Davis transcript. For physics programs, students will file to graduate the following fall quarter. You're not charged fees, nor do you need to register for classes for fall. You simply file to graduate with your dean's office. Let's go over some important things to remember when applying to a summer physics program. First, the physics programs are very popular at UC Davis and have limited spots available for participation. Applications are accepted as first submitted, first nominated based on eligibility. We will use the later of the 2 timestamps from the UCEAP and campus portions of the application for official submission time. Applications open November 1st, 2020, and the deadline for all physics programs is January 13th, 2021. You can only submit one application. Backup applications are not allowed, but you will be able to list backup locations in the campus portion of the application. Both the UCEAP and UC Davis applications must be submitted to be considered officially submitted and ready for review. Applications are not considered complete until both the UCEAP and UC Davis campus portions have been submitted. We're now going to talk about the application process. So to apply, you're going to start at the UCEAP website, uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. You'll create a profile and log into your UCEAP portal by clicking the Apply Now button at the top of any UCEAP page. Use the search tool to find your program. Click on the program card to go to your program page, and then click the Apply Now button, which takes you, the orange Apply Now button, which takes you into the application for the program. Once you're in the application, you'll need to select the term for your program. Then you'll click Next to open the application instructions. Once open, you'll see that there are two sets: application requirements, which shows you what is required in the UCEAP online application, and campus instructions, which will link you to the online UC Davis campus portion of the application. Click Next and begin the application. Continue by completing each screen. Submit the UCEAP online application. Go to the UC Davis portion of the application and complete and submit the UC Davis application. As I mentioned earlier, the application opens November 1st, and that's for the campus portion. If you try to follow the link to the campus application prior to that date, you will receive an error. In this short campus application, you will confirm your information, your program information, and can complete the campus agreements. The Davis part of the application should take about 5 to 8 minutes maximum. Again, both the UCEAP and UC Davis portions of the application must be completed to be considered fully submitted and ready for review. The other thing you'll be able to do in the campus application, specifically for physics program applicants, is you'll have the opportunity to rank backup locations for summer physics programs. You'll do so by clicking and dragging the program locations in the order you choose, beginning with your first choice, the program that you have applied for. If we're unable to nominate you for your first choice, we'll move forward with the nomination based on the order of your backup selections. In order to get this to this screen, you must select that you're applying to a summer physics program on the previous screen. Now that you know how to apply for a program, let's move on to costs and funding. Program costs include UC tuition, program fees, and campus fees, as well as incidentals, transportation, housing and meals, and round-trip airfare. Here you can see the estimated costs for the UC Davis students, and these estimates are based on California residency and undergrad student status. You can find the estimate of the cost on the cost tab of your program page, and if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, you can customize your estimate to include your campus fees. I'm sure that for a lot of you, financing your study abroad experience is a possible concern. There are a lot of scholarships available for study abroad. Scholarships are offered through UCEAP, government agencies, some UC Davis major departments, and even private companies. Look at our website to find support finding scholarships. We actually have a search tool. In general, financial aid applies to all UCEAP programs, but since every student has unique eligibility and financial package, we advise students to talk to the financial aid office for more specifics. Luckily, we have 2 financial aid officers that work with the Global Learning Hub. They know the ins and outs of how financial aid specifically applies for study abroad, and you can contact our office to get a meeting scheduled with one of them. When meeting with financial aid, you must have your estimated program budget. Again, you can find this on the cost tab of the UCEAP program page, and you'll need to customize the budget to get the best estimate of aid for your program. This year has been anything but normal, and the impact of the global health pandemic has had significant consequences on international education. At UC Davis Global Learning Hub and UCAP, we're hopeful that study abroad can resume as normal beginning summer 2021. As of right now, UCAP is anticipating running programs. However, changes can happen based on developments with the global health pandemic. Beginning November 1st, we will be accepting applications for summer 2021 through spring 2022. UCAP is closely and carefully watching the COVID-19 pandemic as it continues to evolve and has student safety at the forefront of program decision-making. If programs do have to be changed or canceled, UCAP and the UC Davis Global Learning Hub will be in contact with students that have submitted applications with program information and options. So before we get to questions, here's a list of the upcoming showcase sessions today and tomorrow. Please attend them if you can. Tomorrow during the UCAP fair, there is going to be a physics session at 3 p.m. where we go into depth with about each location. And Ashley's going to put the link for the rest of the sessions, as well as the link to the workshop survey in chat now. And we'll go ahead and take some question and answers.
All right, our first question is, what time does the Summer Physics Abroad app open on November 1st?
It opens at 8 a.m. on Saturday the 1st.
Great. And then another one related to the application is, should we submit the UCEAP application first or the UC Davis application first?
You should submit the UCEAP application first, because there is a question about your program withdrawal deadline that you need to include in that information in the UC Davis part of the application. It's also a little bit easier that way. We will use the latest of the two timestamps as your official submission time. So either way is fine, but it may be easier to just do the UCEAP one first and then the Davis.
Great. So it looks like there's a couple of students who applied for last summer, but it was canceled due to COVID-19. The question is, do we have to reapply, or are we automatically assigned a spot for summer 2020? If we reapply, will we be given some kind of priority?
You do have to reapply, and no priority is given to students that applied last year. Unfortunately, we want to make sure that every student has the opportunity to try and apply for the program. So putting students in from last year would not allow for new students to apply to programs. But again, if you just follow the application process, you should be able to do that fairly quickly. The UCEAP application, I say, generally takes 30 to 40 minutes to complete. And then the new Davis part of the application, again, will only take you about 8 minutes for a physics student.
And then on that same note, it says, can we use the same documents that we used last time to reapply?
Everything needs to be updated. So if transcripts or anything are required, those have to be the most recent. I also would prefer to have an updated academic planning form. But if you can't get one from last year is fine for physics only.
All right. The next question is about the refund policy. Would we get a full cancellation refund if it's canceled due to COVID-19, or is there a deposit or application fee that won't be refunded?
So with UCEAP, there is no application fee or deposit that's required to apply to programs. So in general, anything that you pay to UCEAP, if the program is canceled after payments are made, will be refunded to you. However, there may be things that you might not get a refund for, such as your passport fees if you need to purchase a passport, or visa fees probably will not be able to be returned. If you have to do a housing deposit or something like that, it's up to you to contact whoever you're doing your housing through to see if you can get a refund of that deposit. But again, in general, anything paid to UCEAP will definitely be refunded.
Great. One question is, what were the requirements of classes completed and GPA for the summer physics?
All programs, with the exception of Glasgow, have a 2.50 GPA requirement. Glasgow has a 2.75 GPA requirement, and you have to do 2 consecutive single variable calculus courses, and that's math 16, 17, or 21 A and B. They have to be completed by the time you go abroad. So even if you don't have it done now when you apply, if you're planning to take those classes this year prior to the start of the summer program, you can just list that in the academic portion of the application, and we'll just double check to make sure you finish that before you go abroad.
All right. The next one says, are we allowed to apply to multiple UCEAP programs, including the UCEAP Summer Physics?
You are not allowed to apply to more than one UCEAP program, and that's because once we receive the application, our office cannot nominate you for more than one program. It really is more of an enrollment than it is an application. If something happens and you need to go into a different program, if your program's canceled or if you no longer are meeting eligibility requirements or something, we will work with you to try and get you into a program that would work.
All right. The next one, on average, how many people are usually accepted into this program?
So we don't tell students how many spots we have. We have quite a few spots between all 7 locations, but we don't tell students specifically how many spots we have in each location because that is not a static number. It can change. And that's simply because if UCEAP says, Davis, you have 20 spots, Berkeley, you have 50 spots, and then Berkeley only has 10 people apply, potentially we could get 40 additional spots from Berkeley. So it's hard to say. We don't like to tell students the numbers because it really isn't a definite number. It's not something that really should make a difference one way or the other. We do really try and get students into programs. I can tell you, before programs were canceled last summer, every student that applied at Davis was given a spot if they wanted it somewhere. It may not have been their first or second choice, but there were spots for every student that applied. The year before that, we did have to turn a few students away, but those were generally students that applied like on the deadline. So I would encourage everyone to apply as soon as possible.
All right, there's a couple of questions about the math requirements. One student asked, can you take the Math 17 series?
Yes, 16, 17, or 21, any of those 3.
And so on that same thread, if a student says they have AP credits for calculus equivalent of Math 21 A and B, is that okay?
Yes, equivalents do work as long as that's listed somewhere. You can show proof that you've completed it. Yes.
All right. Looks like there's a few more questions. If you do have other questions, please feel free to use that Q&A feature. This one says, could we go into drop-in advising with help on filling out the UCEAP application?
Yes, if you do drop-in advising, the one that's listed on the screen now, that is with the general peer advisors at the front desk. If you need help with your application, we don't have drop-in advising for UCEAP students right now. We're doing appointments, but the peer advisors will make that appointment for you. I can also say we are doing drop-in advising tomorrow only, and it's from about 9 to 4.
All right, the next question says, if we need to renew our passport, can we still submit the application now?
Yes, you should still submit your application now, but try and get that passport renewed right away. We know that the Department of State was not letting people apply or renew for passports during the pandemic. That has recently changed, and so we're anticipating that it will take a little bit longer than normal for students to get, or anyone to get, passports at this point. So apply for that as soon as you can. In the application, you can just put your old passport number and expiration date, and then once you get your new passport, you'll go back in and just update that.
All right, there's a question that says, can students access this recorded video? And if so, where?
Yes, this video will be accessible. I believe it's going to take a day or two for us to get them posted, but they should be on the Global Learning Hub Showcase website.
I'll drop that in the chat now as well. And if you are registered through the Eventbrite, we will be reaching out to all the students who registered for the event and make sure that they're aware of where the library of all of the recordings from the sessions are made. So there's the link. And then this question says, if we're going alone, do we have the opportunity to socialize with our UC Davis peers? Are we traveling together?
So students generally, you kind of are in the mindset that I'm going by myself, I'm not going with friends. We do have a pre-departure orientation this year. Most likely it will be a virtual PDO, but you will be able to meet other UC Davis students that are going on the same programs as you. With physics, generally we have quite a few students that attend that. So you'll at least meet someone from the same program that you're doing. In that same thread, once you arrive on your host campus, there is a general in-person orientation with all of the UC students. So you'll meet the students from UCLA and UC Santa Barbara and UC San Diego before you start your classes. These students will also be in your classes. So even if you don't necessarily meet or talk a lot prior to departure, you will be engaging with them while you're on program.
Great. And then the last question is, how do we get more information about tomorrow's physics session? Is it the same as today? Where can we find the link? I'll go ahead and drop the link into the chat for the UCEAP Fair registration. So if you are interested in joining tomorrow's session during the UCEAP Fair, you have that available.
Yes, thank you, Ashley.
And then let's see, we've got a couple more coming in now. The question says, do we have to find our own housing, or is there a program for that?
Housing, actually, for all of the physics programs, it's built into, it's program arranged by UCEAP. So it probably is not included in the funding that you, or the money that you pay to UCEAP. You'll pay your home campus directly, or your host campus directly. But for all of the physics programs, you're staying in dorms or apartments, and UCEAP does arrange those for you.
Let's see. The next one says, what do you mean by consecutive with regards to the math courses? Does that mean you had to take math courses back to back throughout the quarter? Or can you have taken Mat 16 fall quarter and Mat 16A fall quarter and Mat 16B spring quarter?
Yes, you can take, it doesn't have to be consecutive quarters. It just has to be the consecutive classes. So you have to, if you're taking 16, you have to take 16A and B. You couldn't take 16A and then C. That wouldn't work. You'd have to take 16A and B. That's consecutive.
Okay. Let's see, it says, will the UCEAP fair be recorded?
UCEAP is hosting that fair. I am assuming that sessions will be recorded and available for review after. I don't have specific information about where or when those will be available, but they should be, there should be information on the UCEAP page about that in the next few days.
Let's see, the next one says, can we have someone travel / stay with us at our arranged housing?
For the physics programs, you cannot take dependents with you. Again, the housing, most of them are dorms. I think only one location you're staying in apartments, but they are student apartments. So having people stay with you is not allowed, unfortunately. If you did have to bring a dependent with you, you may have to opt out of housing and see if you can find your own housing, and you would kind of be responsible for that. And you do have to have a good reason for bringing a dependent with you. So like if it's a child or something like that, that you have to care for.
All right, the last one at the moment is, what is the grade requirement for the math course prerequisites?
You have to have passed both classes with a grade of C- or better.
All right. I don't see any questions. If there are last minute questions, it looks like we have about 3 minutes left. So if there are any more, please utilize that Q&A function and we will try to get those answers. Or if there's any links that you would like us to share again, feel free to let us know as well.
Yeah, I do also want to remind everyone about the drop-in advising at the Global Learning Hub. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. That is with the peer advisors, but you can make appointments to meet with the UCEAP advisors and enrollment team then. And to join that drop-in advising, you'll just register on globallearning.ucdavis.edu. If there's no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and go to my last screen here. Oops. This is the QR code for the survey. Please complete that for us. It does help us shape events like this in the future. And Ashley put the link, if you'd rather just follow the link, into chat. But again, you can scan the screen and the QR will work.
Looks like there's one more question. It says, do the transcripts have to be official for UCEAP?
Each program is different. Some programs may not even require transcripts at the application phase. And it will tell you whether it's an official transcript or unofficial transcript that's required. And again, I can't give you a straight answer because it does depend on the program. Some will require official, some may require unofficial, and some won't require one at all. So just read those application instructions and you'll be able to figure it out.
All right, that was the last one that I see as of right now, Tiffany.
Great, well, it looks like we're right on time, maybe a minute early. If you have any other questions, again, feel free to reach out to the Global Learning Hub. They can always put you in contact with the UCEAP enrollment team or myself or Christina, who are the UCEAP staff advisors. Thank you for attending. And I think we'll just let you all go. Have a great fall quarter.